Venezuela is a South American country that was part of the Viceroyalty of New Grenada. In other words, countries colonized by Spain such as what is presently Panama, Colombia, Ecuador, Bolivia, and Venezuela. The history of Venezuela is very similar to any new territory colonized by a powerful country. People's beliefs were changed by a new religion, Catholicism, and the royalty enslaved the natives. After a fierce battle against Spain and further freedom achieved by a great honorable man called Simón Bolívar, those countries were united, conforming the Great Colombia. Many different presidents have passed, and the people's conditions are divided into three different classes: the wealthy educated, the middle class with survival conditions and educated, and the poor class with neither education nor money. The discovery of oil in Venezuela brought little change to people's conditions, but the fierce fight for the power remains. The ruler today is Hugo Chavez, a very controversial president who has forced his regime. For those reluctant to accept his government, he imposes military force. Further, the media is imprisoned. Nonetheless, he sees himself as the rescuer of the Bolivarian cause, and believes that he can represent Simón Bolívar. In other words, he wants the Great Colombia to be united again, and indeed, he wants to rule it. His mentor is Fidel Castro, former president of Cuba. Chavez manipulates his colleagues with many different tactics, with the exception of Colombia's president, who is the only right-wing visible president and fully supports the United States and international affairs. In retaliation, Chavez supports FARC, a group of rebels that kidnaps both locals and foreign, and is also accused to have ties with the narcotraffic that has oppressed in many ways the decent people of Colombia. Let's hear what some important journalists have to say about Chavez and his communist and dictatorial tactics.
The President of
the United States, the gentleman to whom I refer as the devil,
He has been trying desperately to pick a fight with us. He has called our Secretary of State every racial slur and human body part slur that you can think of, and she hasn't taken the bait.
He is anti-Semitic, he's anti-Jew, he's preaching hatred of Jews in his country, which is something we've never seen in the Western Hemisphere before.
What you have is an axis of evil, a global axis of evil.
A key element of this strategy is his network of allies, representing a who's who of global terror sponsors.
You can be a communist, you can be a left-winger of any type, you can be a drug trafficker, you can be a Shiite, or you could be a Osama bin Laden. As long as you're against the United States, Chavez will take you as an ally.
Iran Air, Iran's national airline, now operates a flight between Tehran and Caracas, providing a direct and convenient pipeline for importing terrorism into the region.
Now let's get real about Hugo Chavez. To begin with, US is the less interested country to cut ties with Venezuela. Remember that US consume at least 60% of Venezuelan oil production. What American people feel about Venezuela and Chavez is an immense apathy, which means in common language, they don't know, they don't care. In contrast, Chavez does care. He doesn't want this country to become another capitalist country manipulated by superpower countries such as US and those in Europe. Also consider that US was not a powerful nation until the whole states came together as one nation. This is mainly the same concept that Europe adopted with the European Union to achieve control over the global trade. It is only Chavez who thinks about South America in those terms, and it is the only one who has the strength to govern such a vast territory as the whole South America. If he manages to unite the Great Colombia again, then the rest of the countries of South America will join his power. Presidents from Argentina, Brazil, Bolivia, and Ecuador are his allies already. If it is only Colombia who's opposing him, and Colombia's big supporter is just US, Chavez can rest because US will never support Colombia to the point to lose his provider of oil. Chavez is called communist, yes, because of his ties with Castro. But is there in Cuba a single person that doesn't have the opportunity to study or for free? Communism brings healthcare to everybody and divides wealth amongst those who really need it. Media talks about his interviews with Iranian's president and many others, but they never mention that Chavez also visits the Pope and the poor, because he cares.